Before I start debating the Walkayt Sagari being Amara or Tigray, I'd like to point out that Europeans in the 1800s, such as Johann Kraft, did come to Ethiopia and disrupt tribes against tribes. For example, Johann Kraft has been writing books stating that he wanted to overthrow the government that was there, which was an Amara government. And basically he wrote in his books that heaven has given the Galas to the Germans, and that through the Galas they will run and rule over Central Africa. So you will see in my later slides where he wrote this, what his agendas were, and basically because of his activities and his counterparts, the Emperor Menelik II ended up expelling all Protestant missionaries from Ethiopia because their agenda, their activities were political in nature, not religious, and that they wanted to control the land by dividing the people. And so it says here, give us the Gala and Central Africa is ours. So it's very clear, it's page 25 in his book, and he wrote a whole thing about Ethiopia and his agenda. He's a German Protestant missionary. And so, which leads us to the map that the Tigrayans found in 1849, a German map showing that Walkayt is in Tigray. This was basically the same time, because this was in 1838, and the map is 1849, and they were expelled around in the 40s, 1840 something. You could go back to the screen that I was showing earlier. So it says here, even he named the Galas Oromania, and he wanted to have a land called Oromania, which now today is Oromia. So, and then in 1779, Europeans also made maps such as this one that you see. Inferior Ethiopic is to the north, and Superior Ethiopic is to the south, and Abyssinia is like to the east. So the whole Africa is Ethiopic, but Ethiopia is not Ethiopic. I don't know, but their maps were all screwed up, and based on that, some people now want to fight over land, and they want to grab the land of the neighbor. So these maps are inaccurate, and they're in nature, and they were designed to make people fight against one another. So unfortunately, people in Ethiopia today, especially Tigrayans and Oromos, they take these maps seriously and they want to fight over land, but it's absolutely ignorance. And you can see this map in 1774 showing the whole entire Africa as Ethiopia, and inferior Ethiopia is to the north, superior Ethiopia is to the south. So it's really ridiculous when you think about it. Their agenda, of course, is to gain natural resources from the land. They didn't really care about the people. And if today people in Africa were smart and wiser, they should recognize that the Europeans had only one thing in mind, was to just steal the resources. They never cared about the people. They enslaved them. So if that wasn't enough to prove that their agenda wasn't good, why now use their maps to fight one another? That's completely ignorant. Now you can see in this map, current day map, to the north you have Bizan, which is now current day Eritrea, and to the south you have Waldapa, Sagadi, Walkayt, and between that you have Tigray. I put the lines for you, and you can see from a book in Ge'ez, in the Chronicles of Iyasu, Dagmawi Iyasu, the emperor, who says that he went around the whole land of Tigray, and then he puts, of course, you can see it here. It says Nugus Oda meant he went around the whole land of Tigray, and that he went from Bizan Iskaw Sagadi, which means Bizan is in Eritrea, Sagadi is in Amara land. In between that land, he went all around the land of Tigray. So that's pretty much what he's saying. He's not saying that Bizan is in Tigray, because Bizan is in Eritrea. Sagadi is in Amara. So, but these are the limitation basically from here to here. That's what he was saying. So that's what the map I'm posting here. But for argument's sake, if we first look at what Europeans wrote about this on the subject, you'll find in the next slide, the French have written about Walkayt Sagadi in 1881. You have this book here, Voyage en Abyssinie. It's written in 1881, January 1881. It's a journal, and basically it's saying it puts all the provinces of Ethiopia, Tigray, and you can see later on that it puts Tigray separate from Walkayt Sagadi on its own. This is Europeans doing this. French are Europeans. So if we look and we validating our future based on what Europeans have written, then here we go. In 1881, a journal from France has put Walkayt separately from Tigray, and it has all the provinces. Basically, it did a category of provinces, their name, and so on. So based on that, we can argue then that as far as 1881, Walkayt was not part of Tigray, despite the fact that the map that was provided was 1849. So it's really very close as far as years. And so Amaras could not have stolen that land in that moment. Yet here we are with this evidence. Waldeba is basically in Walkayt. You can see on the screen there what Waldeba is. There is a monastery there, and that monastery is not reported to be in Tigray. It's in Amara land, and it's a very fertile land desired by Tigrayans, and we'll see later why they want this land. So Waldeba and Walkayt Sagadi is basically the same area, and you can see on the map that Waldeba is in Amara land, and the north to that is Tigray. So Waldeba, this is from Google. You can write Waldeba and you'll find the same thing. The demarcation of that land is in Amara, not in Tigray. So that's what's going on. If we look at it, if we're looking at it from the map, bird eye view, that's what it looks like. That's what they're fighting for, because that is the land that could be cultivated, whereas in Tigray there's no land to be cultivated to feed the people of Tigray. As we saw earlier, basically Tigray is a dry land that has been suffering over centuries from famine. And even when Abiy Ahmed invaded Tigray, you have seen footages where we call that these I forgot what ambata is in English, but basically wasps are eating the whatever is farmed, the cultivation that the little they have, the wasps are eating it. As you can see, this book is written in 1872 in Amharic. It's a geography book, and it discusses Walkayt, Sagadi, and the land of Amara and the land of Tigray. And pretty much it's very clear that in the next slide that you will see, in Amara land you have Walkayt Sagadi. It's not in Tigray. So again, this book is written 22 years after the 1849 map in Amharic, but this evidence shows that Walkayt Sagadi is in Amara, not in Tigray.
In Ethiopia, 7 million people are threatened by starvation. Thousands have already died. The famine caused by drought is the worst in living memory, and now the rains have failed again for the third year in succession. The relief organizations are doing all they can, but there just isn't enough food to go around. One of the worst hit areas is in the north of the country, where the problem has been complicated by 2 secessionist wars in Eritrea and Tigray. 40,000 refugees have converged on the town of Korum in the hope of getting some food and medical aid. Our correspondent Michael Burke has been back to Korum after 4 months, and he found the situation far worse.
Dawn, and as the sun breaks through the piercing chill of night on the plain outside Korum, it lights up a biblical famine, now in the 20th century. This place, say workers here, is the closest thing to hell on earth. Thousands of wasted people are coming here for help. Many find only death. They flood in every day from villages hundreds of miles away, dulled by hunger, driven beyond the point of desperation. 15,000 children here now, suffering, confused, lost. Death is all around. A child or an adult dies every 20 minutes. Korum, an insignificant town, has become a place of grief. The relief agencies do what they can. Save the Children Fund are caring for more than 7,000 babies. Every day they weigh them on a sling, then compare their weight with their height. By this rule of thumb, 1 in 3 is severely malnourished, starved to the point of death. This morning, another 114 babies have arrived. The choice of who can be helped and who can't among the constant stream of...
So remember, in 1984, 85, up to the 90s, Korum is in Wallo, in Amara land, and now, current day, Korum is in Tigray. So we do have evidence that the Tigrayans wanted to take the land from Amaras because they know back in 1984 they fled from Eritrea and Tigray to get food in Wallo. We have the evidence, it's right there, it's documented on video, and on the map itself, Koram is in Wallo, it's not even in Tigray, but yet today Koram is in Tigray. That means the land has been stolen. The land doesn't move on its own, it's people who steal land. So we do have evidence that Tigrayans have always had the interest to take land from the Amaras because that's where the fertile land is. Tigray is a desert pretty much, and we saw it when Abiy Ahmed invaded Tigray. There's nothing to cultivate there. So in conclusion, what do Amaras have to prove? What evidence can they bring? So this Voyage en Abyssinie, written by the French, even though it was published in 1881, you can see it covers from 1839 to 1843, which is basically before the map of 1849 that the Tigrayans are banking on. And we've seen earlier that this book had Walkayt completely separate from Tigray. The second evidence that Amaras can present in this debate is Iyasu II, who was alive in 1742, and in his book it says that he went around the land of Tigray. The demarcation that he gave was Bizan, which is in Eritrea, and Sagade, that is in Amara. Between these 2 points, the land in the middle is Tigray, and that's the land that he went around and visited. This was written in 1742, which is basically 100 years prior to the map of 1849. Now, the third evidence that Amaras can provide, after they already have provided 1700s prior, 100 years before the 1849, then we have the years from 1831 to 1841 by the French, and then now consistently the third evidence will show that in 1872 Walkayt was not part of Tigray. In fact, it was in Amara land, and it's written in Amharic. The fourth evidence that Amaras can provide is the Italians wrote in 1892 that Walkayt is in Amara land. Lastly, the map of 1849 is basically unreliable because it was made by people who were expelled from Ethiopia because of their bad behavior. For example, here you can see Johann Kraft being expelled in 1842, and it says basically the expulsion means to be banned from entering Ethiopia by Emperor Menelik II. So this map that we are arguing about is a map that was made by people with agendas. Clearly they wrote it on their own. So this is not like a conspiracy or anything, because their own book says this is what we are here to do. This is our mission. So it's not reliable. It's not a reliable map. No one knew of this map. No one was using it as a reliable map. When it was there, it was made, and there's no reason for us to use it now. Lastly, I'd like to give this bonus to my viewers. Another German Protestant Dillman, who is a forger, who changed the Giz Bible by saying that Arphaxad was the father of Salah, when in fact Salah is the grandson of Arphaxad. So again, another fraud, another crime from Germany.